These are the best bronzers for fair skin. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today I have my top 10 favorite bronzers for you that I really enjoy for fair skin people. Since I have fair skin myself, I'm wearing a summer dress today because it's really hot outside, but I didn't want to film. So that's why you can see a lot of my skin out today. You can see that I'm pretty fair. I'm sort of glow in the dark, pale. I skew neutral slash a little bit more cool tone. Very often I find that cooler tones look a little bit better on me than warmer tones, but I can get away with both necessarily. Now, if you have fair skin, do you need bronzer? The answer is no. I think with very fair skin, especially if you're even more fair skinned than me, you do want to perhaps stick to blush necessarily, and you will not necessarily need to have a bronzer. However, what is going on with my complexion, and you can't really tell today because it's so warm, I'm wearing my hair up, but because I am very fair, a little bit more cool toned, and my hair is a little bit darker and a little bit warmer toned, I feel that if I wear my hair down, especially if I don't wear any bronzer on like the outer part of my face, it looks a little bit strange. So I kind of use my bronzer to transition my look into my hairline. That's sort of what I'm trying to do, you could say. So I don't really use like contours for sculpting. I don't really use it to warm up the skin. Like, I had a tan for the first time in 20 years a couple of weeks ago. It's already disappeared. It's already disappeared, but it was really nice, beautiful weather. I sat outside on my balcony to read for a couple of days, and even though I stayed out of the sun, I was in the shade underneath a little sun umbrella in full like SPF 50, and I had a tan, which has not happened to me because very often I just burn and then I go back to this. Which is why, since it takes too much effort, I don't try to tan at all. However, I do develop a little bit of a more sun-kissed look, and I find that especially in the summertime right now, because the lighting is such a different quality than in winter, my skin also shows up a little bit differently. I find that in the wintertime, because there is more blue light, because of how like just lighting works, I tend to look a little bit more cool tone, and then I really go for like the super duper pale stuff, and my skin becomes almost translucent pale. But in the summertime, I'm truly like perked up because of the better lighting that we're just having. So bronzer for me, is it an essential? No. But these are my top 10 favorites that if you do have fair skin and you want to try a bronzer, these are my top picks. I don't think there's necessarily anything here that is going to be shocking if you're familiar with my content. I've got 4 creams slash liquids, and then I have 6 powders for you. So let me do the creams first. In the summertime, I do tend to reach for a cream. Today, I'm wearing the e.l.f. Camo bronzer contour thing in the shade Fair. I'm liking it so far, but it's pigmented. I struggle to control it enough, but I did film a video where I did a full face makeup look with some new in products the other day. So if you want to see me use that and sort of like how it goes on, you can watch that video. But these are all long-standing favorites. So because that's very new to me, I didn't want to feature it yet, because if I don't feel like going back to it next year, is it then a favorite? You know what I mean? But these are things I like to go back to and that I do really enjoy and that I've had a little bit longer in my collection. The only cream I have that comes in a compact is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer in the shade Light. Love this thing to pieces. You can see I've hit pan. I've hit pan. Not difficult to do on this one though. It does go down quite quickly. This is really beautiful. It's a little bit sheer. It does have a slightly yellow undertone, I would say. Oh, it's so sheer that you can barely see the swatch. Can you see that? I do apologize for my nail polish that is chipped off. I was reading the newspaper today, and I was just doing this, and all of a sudden the gel nail polish I had done last week, I could just like strip it off my nail. So it just peeled off. But there's little bits that I can take off, and I don't have any means in my house to take it off myself. So unless I'm able to scratch more of it off in the next couple of days, it's just going to be there until I get it removed a couple of weeks from now. So just so you know. So yeah, that's the Makeup by Mario. Love it. I think it is a beautiful product. There's a reason why I've hit pan on it and why that pan has been expanding quite a bit as well. I know that, again, in the Makeup by Mario, because it is so sheer, I tend to like more so in like the fall winter season rather than right now. Now that it's the summertime, I do like a more obvious bronzer. And for that more obvious bronzer, I like to go in with this. This is the Kiko Milano Sculpting Touch Creamy Stick Contour. I have mine in shade 200. I believe they now do more shades than when I bought mine. They only used to do 2. And this is a little bit more of a more pigmented, slightly more intense shade, you could say. So this is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. It's got a little bit more warmth to it. It's very similar to the Rare Beauty bronzer stick in Power Boost, it's called. It's really similar to that. I love that one too, but because I wear the Kiko Milano more often than I do the Rare, I always feature this one as a favorite. But yeah, this is great. And even though this is called a contour, if you have fair skin, contour shades can work on you as a bronzer would as someone with warm skin, just so you know. Especially if you have a cool undertone. However, especially at the drugstore, we're getting a lot of cooler toned bronzer options, I find. So these are both by Catrice. We have the Melted Sun Liquid Bronzer in the shade Tan Lines, and this is a bit more recent. This came out this year. This is the Sculpt and Charm Contour Stick in the shade Ash. And let me tell you, these are excellent. These are so, so good. I like this a little bit better than the Essence one that I'm wearing today, mainly because it is a little bit more forgiving. It's just a bit easier to use, but I love the e.l.f. one as well that I'm wearing today. So here is the Melted Sun, and like the Kiko one looks orange compared to this. Like compared to the Catrice, this just looks incredibly orange. So if you're afraid of things looking orange on you, just know there are currently products on the market that have a much more of a cooler undertone, and sometimes those products are going to be marketed as contours, but even if it's marketed as a contour, it could still be too warm for you, so buyer beware. But here is the Sculpt and Charm by Catrice, both really lovely options. I love how purpley the stick is. This I feel is a little bit easier to blend. This takes a little bit more time, but this Sculpt and Charm formula from Catrice was excellent, so I like that one as well. And then we have our 6 powders, but I say 6, but I have 2 bronzers in the same formula in 2 different shades, because it is my favorite, but they discontinued shade 1. This is by Kiko Milano. This is their Flawless Fusion Bronzer. This is the shade that's discontinued. This is shade 1. And the one that I've been finding in the new range that's quite similar is shade 8. So you can see that shade 8 is essentially a slightly deeper version of shade 1, but they both have that sort of cooler, almost pinky undertone to them, without it being a bronzer. Like, these aren't going to be bronzers, but I feel like it's the same thing. If you use a slightly lighter hand with shade 8, you're going to get the same effect. I've used both of these side by side in videos in the past to showcase that, but especially in a swatch, you can see here is shade 1, here is shade 8. This is just a slightly more intense version of this. That's all there is to it. So I like 8 even better, but I'm trying to hit pan on shade 1. And when I hit pan on shade 1, I'm going to put it in my makeup memory box, and then I'm going to use shade 8 exclusively. But these are really lovely bronzers from Kiko. I love that formula. You guys have heard me rave about it for years. I adore that. If you do want something that has a bit more warmth and you are in the UK or you have access to Soap & Glory makeup, then definitely check them out. The Solar Powder Bronzer is something I used to own in the past. I hit pan, and then they discontinued it, and then last year I found it again at Boots, and I'm so happy because this is such a good bronzer. It comes with 2 shades, a deeper one and a lighter one. I just sort of fused them together here in the middle, and before, this is so interesting because the previous shade that they did, the lighter shade had a slightly softer formula, but now the deeper one has a slightly softer formula. So when I hit pan on it, I had a lot of the deeper shade left and not so much of the lighter shade, so that was a bit of a shame. And this, I don't know if you can even see this, because this is the 2 shades mixed together. It's, again, a little bit more of a warmer tone bronzer, but this, in that spring to summer transitioning period, I reach for it every year, and I'm so glad to have this back in my life. I'm not sure if they still do the deeper shade though. They used to do this in 2 shades back in the day. I think now it's just 1 shade. But I haven't been to a UK drugstore in a while, so I don't know. I didn't look for it this year, so if you're in the UK and you see this product regularly, let me know because I could be wrong. Another old favorite, and this is so fingerprinty, I do apologize, but my Fenty Beauty, this is the Sunstalker bronzer in the sun. I bought this because I think Lisa Eldridge actually mentioned this as a really good bronzer for fair skin in a video of hers. I've hit pan. Mine does hard pan really quickly, so that's a little bit of a shame, but this is beautiful. The only reason why I wouldn't buy this again is because of how much I have to scrape it down every time. But it is a little bit more of a more neutrally toned. Like compared to the Kiko here, it's not as orange. It's got a slightly more neutrally yellowy leaning undertone, and I found out really early on that a more yellow tone bronzer looks better on me than something that pulls very orange. A really, really good alternative to this, but mine expired, so I no longer own it. But by Makeup Forever, they do this bronzer. I don't remember what it's called, but it's got this wavy pattern, and it's sort of like a gel to cream powder sort of situation. And that one was really lovely. Mine was in shade 20, I believe. Love that thing to pieces, but it started to shrink, so I no longer got the payoff I remember it having. So it was a bit of a shame, but they still sell that. And I've been eyeing that up. Every single time I'm in a Sephora, I'm like looking at that Makeup Forever bronzer, was like, but I don't need another new bronzer. But that's a good one too. This Dior bronzer, I'm not sure if they still do it, but this is the Dior Forever Natural Bronzer in the shade 0410 Bronze. And if you want something that's a little bit more pinky, that has that reddish undertone, this is really beautiful too. I also love my NYX Butter Melt Bronzer in All Buttered Up, but that's very intense, and I find the shade range of the NYX to not be the best. The one I have is very reddish toned, but here you can see it has that slight hint of something pink to it. It's sheer, it's very easy to use. This, I believe, also came in 8 different shades, so that's a bronzer I love. And this is actually a bronzer that's on the list of like items that I would like to hit on, pan on next. So that would be nice to be able to hit pan on this. This used to have the brand name embossed in it, and that's already completely gone. And when I look at it in certain lighting, I can see the rings that are coming through as well. So my Dior bronzer is a candidate like this or either next year to be something I want to pan. And then I have my Pat McGrath bronzer. This is the Divine Bronzer in Naked Desire. This is the lightest shade they do. And this, I think, is the lightest shade of bronzer I've ever been able to find. It is, again, a little bit more of a yellow undertone. I don't use it as often because I can only really wear this in the dead of winter. And then very often I want a cream and I reach for the Makeup by Mario and not this one. But it is a beautiful product. This is pricey though. Ooh, I'm swatching it underneath the Soap and Glory and I'm like, that's really similar to the Soap and Glory. Oh, I had not realized it. Okay, so I think I've accidentally found a dupe in my makeup collection that I wasn't even looking for, because the Pat McGrath one retails for like, what, 50 euros? The Soap and Glory was like 10 pounds at the UK drugstore, so that's a good score. So unexpected find there, but yeah, the Pat McGrath is really lovely as well. And then if you are super duper light and you do want something going on, go the K-Beauty route. Go the K-Beauty route. I used to have one from Peri Para in my makeup collection, which I've replaced with this. This is the Art Class Too Cool for School by Rodin in the shade, it doesn't say, shade 2. Modern. Yeah, that's what it's called. This is essentially a contour product, but I use it as a bronzer. This is if you want to go super subtle though. Very easy to use, very sheer. I'm just swirling all 3 shades together. And this is, I don't want to call this a grain tone because it's not, but in terms of like compared to everything else that I've got going on, do you see how different that undertone is? It's just not as orange, you know? So if I want to go for something a little bit more subtle, a little bit more barely there, then the Art Class Too Cool for School is one of the best ones, again, in my makeup collection. Love that thing to pieces. It's great to have something super subtle. And this, like, if you're afraid of your bronzer looking crazy and making you look like an Oompa Loompa, nothing wrong with looking like an Oompa Loompa if that's your vibe. But if you're afraid of that, then you know you will be able to get away with something like that for sure. So here are the 10 bronzers that I would recommend for fair skin. These are beautiful. They're not necessarily all cool tone because fair skin comes in a spectrum. So whether you're an olive or whether you prefer a cool tone, there's options here. But also if you like a warm tone, there's options here. But these all work for me just fine, just so you know. So yeah, those are all of my bronzers that I wanted to share with you in this video today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Let me know in a comment down below, what are your favorite bronzers to wear? I would love to know, especially if you have fair skin, or maybe you want to add to the list and maybe you have medium skin and you want to do that. I don't know. But yeah, thanks so much for being here, and then I hope to see you again really, really soon in a new video. Bye-bye.